In a place called Volcano, only 1 minute remains until noon. The protagonist appears on a motorcycle, worried he won't make it in time until someone tells him he shouldn't have accepted the request. But he replies that it was a direct order from the Demon King and he couldn't refuse. She then says she would never accept something like that and would take down anyone who tried to force her, but the MC just tells her to shut up. Accelerating his motorcycle even more, flames emerge from the headlights. The rear tire starts a weak fire, but it becomes strong within seconds. At high speed, the MC's voice echoes saying he didn't come all this way to give up. However, his expression suddenly becomes serious. Monsters appear ahead, and that's a problem because this is the fastest route. Besides, are only 40 seconds left and is almost there. Frustrated, the protagonist thinks that on any other day he'd manage. But noticing a red button on the handlebar, he presses it because today he can't afford any delays. With that, a flaming skull symbol appears. And with only 30 seconds left, the MC activates the fastest mode of his motorcycle, which is named Hella. With 25 seconds remaining, he drives at full speed. The demons ahead hear a noise and wonder what's happening until it gets closer and closer. With 20 seconds left, the protagonist runs over everyone in his path. At 15 seconds, the creatures try to capture him, but they are immediately run over too. The sadistic MC leaves a trail of road kills while only 10 seconds remain. And now with 5 seconds left, he must face a gigantic mountain, which in truth is not a problem for someone so skilled. Reaching the top, there's a horned man sitting on his throne. Annoyed, the protagonist says the man could have given him 5 more minutes. And picking up his golden briefcase. With a gentle expression, the MC apologizes for being late. Even so, the Demon King angrily asks why he took so long, and the food delivery guy blames the traffic. Despite the stress, the horned man hands something to the protagonist. With that, the payment is confirmed. It's the Asmodeus bracelet, which grants some benefits when activated. And the dear delivery guy says the fried dumplings have already been delivered, making the Demon King quite excited. Having finished his job, he gets on his motorcycle. But before leaving, he tells the king to throw the dishes into the void after finishing the meal. And replying to the NC, he says he already knows that finally finishing his delivery, the food delivery guy thanks the young king and wishes him a good meal. Now accelerating his motorcycle, he jumps off the cliff like it's nothing. All the creatures down below see him landing smoothly on the ground. They even wonder how he's so strong and whether he's really human. Hearing all this, the delivery guy thinks people always ask the same questions and he always gives the same answer. It's because of my delivery routine. Some time ago in the human world, the protagonist is heading out for another delivery, quite cheerful for a wage worker. When he touches the motorcycle's handlebar, he's confused because he finds that skull pendant and wonders what it is, thinking it was a gift. The MC wonders if he should give something back to his friend. Despite the doubt, he speeds up to get to work, arriving at a giant building. A customer compliments him on the delivery speed. The protagonist then heads out for another one while saying goodbye, thanking him for ordering from the restaurant called What Brothers. On his way out, he wonders what the next place is. Checking his phone, he sees he has to go to a place called Grandma Kim's house. Confident in his speed, the MC thinks he'll get there in 15 minutes. So he sets off for his next delivery until halfway there. Someone says it's a pleasure to meet the protagonist. This being starts calculating the ideal route to Grandma Kim's address as the MC brakes his motorcycle. Stopped, the delivery guy is confused. With his helmet in hand, he wonders if it's a new model. But the voice introduces herself as Hella and says she's a spirit living inside the motorcycle's keychain. The MC gets even more startled because the skull is speaking and glowing. Doubt lingers in the boy's mind until the spirit says she has a proposal for him. The ideal route she suggested takes 10 minutes, but if he does it in 5, she'll pay him $1,000. And for every minute less, they'll receive 1,000 more, making the MC think this feels like a test. As he reflects on it, the spirit asks if he accepts. However, his answer is a simple no, and the being is outraged. Putting on his helmet, the delivery guy says he doesn't know her intentions, so he can't just trust her that easily. She asks if it's a matter of trust, and confirming it, the MC tells her to leave him alone. But out of nowhere, he hears the spirit say that it's actually a relief. She thought it was because of his lack of trust and says there's no way he can complete the delivery in under 5 minutes, thus wounding the protagonist's pride. He says she better have that money ready. She does. But to provoke him, she says she doubts his courage. With that, the delivery guy tells her to keep her word, and she snaps back, telling him to hurry up. Starting the timer, the race begins at full speed. The NC asks if she really is a spirit that lives in a keychain. Annoyed, she asks him if he really has time for questions like that, because 30 seconds have already passed. Excited, he thanks her for reminding him, poor guy must have Alzheimer's. At 59 seconds, he reaches a curve. The spirit then warns him that there are 4 minutes left, and he says he already knows. From above, we see the distance covered in 1 minute. Then at 1 minute and 20 seconds, the MC ignores the route and stops at a staircase. Trusting that this isn't like Rio de Janeiro, he leaves the motorcycle and starts climbing on foot. At 1 minute and 47 seconds, the spirit tries to recalculate the route for the shameless guy. Doubting the protagonist, she asks if he's sure that path is going to work. Because even if he goes back to the bike, there wouldn't be enough time, and this path would take 6 minutes. So the MC asks if she really hasn't figured it out yet. With 2 minutes past, he starts doing something crazy, saying he only needs 1 minute. The spirit calls him insane and even tries to insult him more, but she can't. Seeing the height of the protagonist jump, to avoid injury, he grabs a pipe and slides down it, managing to land safely on the ground, right in front of Grandma Kim's house. He rings the bell, arriving at the place in just 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Grandma shows up to answer the door and asks if the MC is the delivery guy. Saying he ran into some weird stuff on the way, he apologizes for the delay and hands over the order. Finishing his job, the delivery guy wishes her a good meal. Hella then asks him how he didn't spill any of the food, but he says she's way too rude for a system. Irritated, she says she's a spirit and demands he answer the question, and the MC says he used to do park hour, so it came in handy for the job. Anyway, the delivery guy asks how long it took him. Hella says she's surprised that he made it in under 3 minutes and tells him it was 2 minutes and 53 seconds. And when she tries to convince him to listen to her, the shameless delivery guy removes the keychain from the bike, getting ready to commit the greatest act of evil in his life. He thanks the spirit and throws her with all his strength while hearing her cursing him out. Irritated, he says she can't just show up and start bossing him around, but of course, she doesn't hear that. At the restaurant where he works, the protagonist calls out to someone intending to talk about the crazy things that happened today, but ends up getting scared because he sees his brother unconscious on the floor. So he calls for an ambulance desperate while trying to wake his brother up. Already at the hospital, the NC is shocked by the treatment cost being even higher because there were complications with the medication, but he sees no other option. The attendant reminds him that his payments are overdue and that he's going to have problems because of that, so the NC apologizes. And after that, worried about where he'll get the money, he wonders if he should sell his motorcycle until suddenly someone asks the MC if he needs money. And when he says yes, the person asks how much. Looking at the woman, he says it's $300, but finding her suspicious, he asks if he knows her. And smiling, the girl calls the MC insensitive for forgetting her so easily after tossing her away like she was nothing. The protagonist says he did throw something away today, but it wasn't her. Then after touching his waist, he finds the skull keychain. But out of nowhere, the girl tells him to get on his knees. When the MC asks why, she says that if he needs money, then he should get on his knees and beg her for the $300. But looking at the girl, he reminds her that she owes him $3,000, and not understanding, she assumes the MC is going to kneel. However, when he stands in front of her, the MC demands his rightful reward for the previous delivery. Surprised, she keeps trying to fool him, saying he has to kneel. But the MC asks why, if he deserves the money, and the girl still claims she's doing him a favor. Annoyed, the delivery guy demands his reward, reminding her that spirits can't lie or they'll disappear, something he read. She herself said before, he'd get $1,000 if he delivered in under 5 minutes, plus $1,000 for each minute less. So in total, she owes him $3,000, and unable to argue with the protagonist, she admits she lost. Calling him a pain in the ass by accident, she mutters that she doesn't know what someone named Sloan sees in him, making the MC ask who that is. But asking him to forget it, she then asks how he wants the money, and the boy replies that he always wanted to try something. Then the scene cuts to a few clerks surprised by the amount of cash. Apparently, he was in debt with a hospital over a house and all happy. The MC says he'll pay in cash and asks one of the ladies to count the money again after the payment. Now outside the hospital, Hella asks why he asked for paper money because it looked like he just wanted to be annoying, and he says that was also part of it. But he adds that he just wanted to pay for something that would help him feel a bit better, at least once, since he was tired of avoiding the hospital because of his overdue payments. Changing the subject now, the girl asks if he wants to meet her supervisor. Confused, the protagonist asks what she's talking about. The boy remembers when she mentioned someone's name before he tossed her aside, and he asks who this Sloan guy or whatever is. But out of nowhere, the girl says he'd make a great spy, while the MC says he wants to keep working with his brother. He wouldn't stop working. In fact, he'd work even harder. Being by his side is the only way the MC can look after him. Besides, being a delivery guy is good. They run into a few problems, but it's not that bad. Then the girl says she understands why Sloan is keeping an eye on him, and the MC asks again who Sloan is. But again without answering, she tells him to check the restaurant's supply closet. And when the MC asks why, she gets irritated and tells him to just do what she says and mourn she'll destroy him if he throws the keychain away again. She's already getting way too stressed out with his behavior, so much so that sparks of fire are bursting out. With that, the MC is impressed by how cool she looks, remembering she's a spirit. But changing scenes, the delivery guy is in his restaurant and going down to the storage room. He hopes she left him some kind of gift. However, something strange happens. With a portal suddenly appearing, the MC wonders what's going on. Lacking basic common sense, he even gets close and tries to touch it. But, of course, something would happen. The boy is sucked inside like dust in a vacuum cleaner, and what's left behind is everything except the delivery guy. Now on the other side of the portal, he stumbles all over the place, falling in the weirdest position possible, but is not alone. So the boy asks where he is, but the man there just says it's a pleasure to meet him. And after asking the MC to sit, he's asked again who he is. That's when the old man finally introduces himself as Sloan and says he's a caretaker of realms. Uncertain, the protagonist thinks it's like in fantasy stories. But reading the boy's thoughts, the old man says some realms really are like that. He also says the protagonist doesn't seem very shocked, but after everything the MC saw today, meeting an old man is the least of it. With that, the man just laughs at the boy. But now the caretaker says he'll get straight to the point. He proposes a business partnership with the Wak Brothers restaurant, a contract that will benefit both sides, but the protagonist quickly lists all the things he wants from $5,000 per delivery to compensation for injuries. And he even says that's just for now since there might be more he wants in the future. But since the caretaker doesn't seem to mind, the MC who was joking decides to begin the negotiations officially. And speaking seriously, he asks how much the old man knows about him. Startled by the question, the old man there asks about the sudden change since the MC seemed excited before, but the boy says he can't trust him. It doesn't make sense for a caretaker to want a contract with a small restaurant since it would be better to approach a larger and more famous one. But the old man says he has good supplies for a proper kitchen, and the MC's restaurant would offer more variety to customers. It's much better to give more choices so people can decide. And besides, the MC and his brother make the best noodles. Skeptical, the delivery guy asks how many noodles the old man has eaten, and he replies that he's eaten all the others on Earth. And leaving the boy shocked, the caretaker adds that the other gods aren't satisfied with just anything. After some of them find out about the Wak Brothers restaurant, they'll tell all the others about it. And the MC should be grateful that they are passionate about food, not that they hate it. But then the caretaker asks the delivery guy about the contract. And after thinking, he now demands 10,000, startling the old man with the amount. The MC says he wants that much because they're not talking about just any delivery. The other realms are full of spirits and all kinds of creatures, and he asks if there are skilled mags or swordsmen who carve mountains with their swords. The caretaker says they are rare, but yes, they do exist. So the MC adds that there also have to be dragons, because without them, it's not real fantasy. And those places would be the perfect spot for an ordinary human like him to die. But the old man says he has countermeasures to help him, and that 10,000 is too much money. So the MC asks what those countermeasures are, and the caretaker says he'll give him items to keep him safe. Doubtful about those items, he asks if he can see them. Then the caretaker asks the MC to follow him, boasting about how shiny and useful the items are forged by gods themselves. When the old man pulls out a hood, there's a map along with a metal briefcase. The old man asks the disappointed MC to touch the delivery box. And when he does, something like a system window appears as a hologram, showing the box features, making it the perfect item for a delivery man, and it even comes with hidden abilities. The MC then asks about the names written there, saying they look like ancient Greek gods' names. Then the effects of the delivery box are revealed. It contains a subspace where items are stored and don't spill. It's also immune to any kind of magical or physical attack. On top of that, it can be used as a light source. With that, the MC thinks it's pretty cool, but wonders if the delivery guy really needs all that. But the old man even customized it so the delivery guy could change the light color and everything. And just as the MC is thinking this is useless, the sad old man, having read his mind, says they should check out the next item. It's an unknown map that teleports him anywhere just by pressing words glowing with his finger. And the MC says that this item is useful, which makes the old man happier. But the caretaker brings up the contract again. However, the MC interrupts him saying that before that, he understands that the delivery box has a bunch of functions. But still, all of that is to keep the box safe, not the protagonist himself. He might run into all kinds of trouble, and the truth is the old man has nothing that actually keeps him safe. So the caretaker says he'll give him a few more things, making the shameless protagonist happy to be doing business with him. The old man then reveals a sword and a ring that could keep him well protected. An incredible ring called Wrath of Uranus, which has the ability to absorb any type of magic. and the sword, which was forged for the god Ars, but was never delivered, bears the name Will of Hephaestus. The MC takes the chance to ask what this will is, and the old man says it's about imagination. They'll be as strong as the protagonist imagines. They are designed to help control the weapon's power and also prevent abuse. After understanding that, the protagonist wonders if he should be happy about all this. And then the old man asks the delivery guy if he'd like to take a look at the contract now, and he says yes. But when the scene changes, the old man is totally slumped over the table, asking if the protagonist is happy now after abusing so many of his benefits. And after the caretaker complains, the shameless delivery guy even asks if they should add anything else. But trying to act more humbled, the MC says is looking forward to working with the old man. Then he asks where he's supposed to keep the contract, and the old man tells the MC he can handle that. In a magical way, the contract vanishes from the protagonist's hands, leaving him surprised as it transforms into some kind of bracelet, and the old man says he no longer needs to worry about the contract. Also, the caretaker already has the MC's first delivery, and he just needs to check the details on the map. So thanking the old man, he leaves saying he'll need a few more things later because the caretaker still hasn't given him the new scooter, and there's no way he can make a decent delivery without it. The old man with a defeated look just says fine. But after the MC leaves, he starts thinking that maybe he'll regret this in the future. Meanwhile, the MC returns to his original world through the portal. However, the boy who seemed calm starts releasing all the pressure he was feeling in his body during the negotiation. The poor guy even sits down to feel better. Trembling all over, he feels a wave of relief and wonders if he really made the right choice a few minutes ago. The MC was really scared back there and feels lucky that man wanted to do business with him. Completely rejecting the offer might have been the right call, but since that's not possible, he'd rather accept it and starts checking the location for the delivery. The client is someone named Selena, who ordered 2 bowls of fried noodles. And after seeing she's the daughter of someone called Accountant Benzali, he thinks that's a very weird name, but somewhere else, in a place with houses and a giant castle. In the square, a few women are talking about a strange rumor that's been going around, and this blonde-haired girl walks through all the other people who are gossiping too. She walks as if she were a noble strolling among commoners, until inside the castle, she kneels before the king who asks her what everyone's gossiping about this time and getting straight to the point. The girl says the rumor is that this account, Bensley, will be sent 6 feet under by the one who carries the ring of courage. But the scene shifts to the protagonist in the kitchen, saying he's lucky this is a simple order with easy-to-get ingredients. And looking ahead, his brother named Taehyung shows up, saying he thinks the MC is standing in his spot. But the protagonist asks if the hospital has already discharged him, and his brother answers they did ever since he started feeling better, and he still needs to prepare for tomorrow. Even so, the NC asks if he's really okay, and Taehyung again replies saying he's great. Relieved, he asks Taehyung to have a quick conversation for a second. Startled, his brother asks what it's about. The protagonist shows the window with a giant contract he and the caretaker sign. And even more shocked, the MC's brother asks if this is all a joke, and if it's not, why he didn't just refuse. But the delivery guy says somehow they made him sign it, and Taehyung asks what that even means. The prophet says they can't get out of this now since even their storage room has a portal to their realm. But even so, he apologizes for doing this without Taehyung's permission, who says he believes in his ability. But the MC's brother asks why they were chosen. There must be millions of better restaurants for this, and the protagonist replies that he'd also like to know why. But they should take it as a compliment since the MC is the best delivery guy in the country and his brother is at the top of the chefs. Still, Taehyung says he just can't believe any of this, and the delivery guy says he can't either. Yet even so, he tries to get used to it by fiddling with the bracelet that becomes a contract every day. Then his brother asks if that doesn't give Sloan too much power, and the MC says he put a clause in the contract that allows him to refuse request. Taehyung also asks about the motorcycle the MC is supposed to receive, and the MC says he's thought about that too. On his phone, he has a message to the caretaker saying he still hasn't received his scooter, and he shows that to Taehyung. Relieved by that, the protagonist's brother says he really remembered everything. The delivery guy says he recorded his whole conversation with the old man since you can't trust anything written, and wonders if the old man already regrets hiring them, because that would be a good sign for them, and then asks if his brother can cook now. After finishing a meal that makes you hungry just by looking at it, the protagonist tests his delivery box by placing both lunch boxes inside, and it almost looks like a black hole. After putting the lunch boxes in, he says he's heading out, and his brother asks if the portal is still in storage because he wants to see it. Downstairs, Taehyung is impressed by this magic and wonders if it's real while the delivery guy tells him not to touch it because it's kind of rude and might suck him in. Now saying goodbye to his brother, the protagonist tells him to be careful and that he's going now. And Taehyung stays there until his brother disappears right in front of them. But worried about his brother, he tells him to be careful. The boy, after passing through the portal along with his case, is pretty surprised that the portal didn't spit him out like last time, but the spirit woman is there too. The MC asks her where the caretaker Sloan is now because he needs to collect something. Hella asks if it's about the scooter and says it's already there. And surprised, the protagonist sees that it's actually an old little scooter, which the girl says just needs a few repairs. So the boy says it'd be easier to just walk, but irritated, Hella says the scooter still has some years left in it. And to annoy her even more, the protagonist asks why she's getting so worked up, and she tells him not to judge a book by its cover. The protagonist looks at the helmet on top of the scooter and compliments it, saying it has a cool design, and the flames on the sides even have some nice details. Shocked, the boy asks why she's acting normal all of a sudden, and she asks if this is what she gets for trying to be nice. Then the protagonist wants to know who this Benzali accountant guy is. The girl then asks if he needs to investigate every client he's delivering to. The MC says no, but if his client is an accountant, then it must be someone really important. But Holla says that, to be precise, this accountant Benzali could actually be considered more powerful than the king himself. The MC, a little intimidated, starts thinking he's in trouble for having to meet someone like that. And the girl explains that an accountant has more authority than a king, but not a higher position. The MC then asks why the daughter of someone in such a high position would order fried noodles, and Halef says that in his world, people pay a lot for snail. But now the girl tells the MC to go already, and he says he's going. He's just opening the map. But all that glowing blinds the poor guy, and the insensitive one just tells him to hurry up. A glow appears and the MC reappears in a strange place, wondering where he is. There are expensive chandeliers that you only see in mansions. It looks like the bedroom of a castle, something a poor boy would never imagine seeing in his entire life. Looking to the side, it's clear this is a woman's room with feminine accessories. The MC picks up one of the perfumes and the girl says this seems more like a home invasion. But he replies saying he's just touching a little, though she still says he's touching someone else's stuff. So to finish his job, the delivery guy yells out for someone saying their delivery has arrived until they both start hearing music or someone singing. Getting closer to the door, the protagonist says again that the delivery has arrived, but it seems like she can't hear him from the other side. But suddenly, the door starts to open as the boy tries to speak louder, and the girl who ordered the food appears, leaving the protagonist in disbelief because she was in her bathroom with a few towels wrapped around her body. And surprised, she screams in panic, saying there's a pervert there. But the scene changes to the girl at the table with the lunch boxes, happy because it looks so delicious. And the MC says is glad to hear that from a customer. She then asks the MC if he had any trouble getting to her house, all the spirit is there invisible. The poor guy replies that it was his first time getting slapped for making a delivery, but other than that, no problem. But out of nowhere, the customer tells the MC to wait, and he asks if something's wrong. Maybe he forgot her pickles, but she just wanted to give him the payment, which is a ring called the Ring of Courage. Thanking the customer, the protagonist wonders to himself whether the ring is really worth the $5,000 in payment. The accountant's daughter asks the MC not to lose the ring because it's very valuable, but he doesn't understand why. Since the client speaks in a weird and funny way, the MC asks the spirit if the girl's a bit nuts, and she replies that it seems to be the case. The MC then asks the client if the food is to her liking, and she says it's the best food she's ever eaten. So the delivery guy says he's heading out now, bidding farewell to the client. Opening the map, he wonders which way is home, but he gets scared because it's all blank. There's nowhere to teleport. So he asks the red-haired girl what's wrong with the map, saying it seems broken. Desperate, he adds that he's dying to get home, but the spirit says she doesn't know what's going on either. The client then asks the MC if something's wrong, but he tries to play it off and says it's nothing. He tells her to enjoy the rest of her meal, and the client bids farewell again. With the spirit, the delivery guy asks if she knows where Sloane's house is, and she says she does, but it's about a week's walk. Panicking at the thought of walking for a week, he starts yelling. But the one who yells even more is the MC's client, and is confused by her reaction. Out of nowhere, she starts saying there's an assassin with her. The protagonist asks what she means by that, and the spirit thinks she's gone crazy. But changing her tone, the client apologizes, saying she'd like the MC to pretend to be an assassin. The poor guy, confused, asks if she's joking, while the redhead even suggests burying the client 6 feet under. However, some armed guards suddenly appear chasing the delivery guy. All of them trying to capture the protagonist and protect the girl named Selena, and the MC realizes they are surrounded. He even considers sending the client to meet Jesus, but the spirit says she was just joking. Even so, the protagonist says he's going to do it, and the redhead calls him crazy. That makes Selena suspicious as the MC begins walking toward her. And since the MC refuses to be taken quietly, she stands up to defend herself. The protagonist, startled, asks what she's about to do, and the spirit answers that she's about to use a magic scroll. When the girl opens the scroll, a fire spell bursts out, and she throws a fireball toward the MC. As he wonders what the heck that thing is, the delivery guy opens his delivery box, and after the magic hits him, the client wonders if she managed to hit the protagonist. But a hand emerges from the smoke, and the delivery guy getting right in front of her grabs her arm and even apologizes to her, saying his delivery box is fireproof. And since she just tried to kill him with that, it's only fair he gets his turn now. Terrified, Selena asks the MC if they can't just talk things out, and the MC calmly says yes. He'll talk, but not with her. Changing scenes, a blonde girl is asking someone about what the hooded man says that Lady Selena was taken to be used as a hostage. The blonde says her magical protection seal should have warned them about intruders, but the man says it didn't work. A bit annoyed, the woman asks if he's saying the seal is useless, but the man explains the intruders just suddenly appeared inside. Right inside her room, startled, the girl stands up and says she'll personally handle this matter, and he must come with her. She adds that she won't reveal who she really is, but the man must be ready for anything. Elsewhere, this same woman appears alongside two other men. After seeing her, they ask if she's already up to speed with the current situation. Then she asks if her sister is still with the intruder, and they apologize, saying magic seems to have no effect on him. Becoming even more serious, she questions why the doors are closed, and one of them says the kidnapper asked for that until a negotiator arrives. Irritated, she asks if he only did that because the intruder told him to, and the knight explains that Selena was threatened with a sword, which makes the blonde even more furious. She then says she'll talk to the kidnapper herself, and they try to stop her from doing that because it's dangerous. Even so, the girl makes it clear that she's the only one they are capable of negotiating with him right now. But still, the guards say they can't allow her to enter that room alone. She then asks if she should call her father, and the two are shocked, replying that there's no need for that. With the guards' permission then, she begins to open the door after they ask her to give them a signal if something goes wrong, because they'll come in to help her. Inside, Selena is crying and begs her sister to save her. And with a smile on her face, the blonde tries to comfort her, saying she won't let anything happen to her. But the MC already tells her to stop walking, placing the sword in a dangerous spot near the girl. Then the blonde tries to calm the protagonist, saying that she came alone, but the poor delivery guy says she'd be cautious too if someone tried to frame her as a murderer without reason. Taking another step forward, she proposes they start negotiating, but the MC tells her to stop again. Even so, she simply says she's Benzali's second daughter. Her name is Adelia, and she's just there to talk to him. Adelia then asks the protagonist his name, but two hooded men appear behind him. The delivery guy with a threatening look asks why he would give his name to her. And as one of the hooded men approaches, he says he doesn't give his name to scammers like them. The red-haired girl then warns the MC that someone is right behind him really close. Startled, he turns around and gets ready, saying he knew something like this might happen. Even so, the blonde grabs a magic scroll too, but the protagonist already prepared says he won't be tricked twice in a row. And moving in front of the girl, he attacks with his sword like someone who's had swordsmanship training. The blonde is even surprised to have her scroll cut. She can't believe he managed to slice through a magic seal so easily. With that, the boy manages to capture her too, holding her from behind. He says that was a close one, and it's a good thing he was already ready for another magic scroll. Now that he's immobilized Adelia, the protagonist tells everyone to stay where they are. He even demands that the blonde order her men to leave the room, but she says they are not her men. Then the MC asks if she thinks he's stupid, but Adelia says she really doesn't know them. Only her father knows who they are. But Selena calls out to her sister asking who those guys are behind her. The blonde tells her sister not to worry about them, that she should just leave and wait outside. But even so, she's still worried about Adelia. With a gentle smile, the blonde says she's fine and that their father will find out everything soon enough. So she should go enjoy her meal with her beloved. With that, Selena says okay, but leaves the room asking her sister to be careful. The MC takes the chance to tell the hooded men to get out of the room now because he doesn't want to start cutting things. And now that they are alone, the blonde asks the MC to lower his sword, but the boy asks who she is. But she replies saying she already introduced herself, and now it's the protagonist's turn, calling him the Inter-Realm Delivery Man. Surprised, the delivery guy asks how she knows that, and the red-haired girl thinks to herself that she doesn't trust the blonde. But Adelia says the magic protection seal doesn't alert intruders from other realms, and surprisingly, the red-haired girl already knew that. And the MC asks her if she's made deliveries here before, which she tries to dodge by saying she hasn't. But the blonde notices the protagonist is talking to someone and asks if she's a magic spirit. Making him curious, Adelia says she can't see her. She only saw the boy talking to himself. He tries to fool her by saying he doesn't know what she's talking about, and she replies that she's in the top 3 most informed people in this land. But changing the subject, the protagonist asks how she can seem so calm. Maybe she wants to meet Jesus or something. With that look, she asks the MC how long he plans to keep up with these terrible charades of his and asks if he's never taken a life before, which is the case. So since he's never hurt anyone, she asks him to sit down and talk with her. But the delivery guy grabs his briefcase and tells the blonde to stand up. As he raises his sword, the MC says her threats won't work on him, threatening to cut her down. He slices the table in front of her in half, and even though she's scared, Adelia says the boy isn't exactly a swordsman. However, the protagonist tells her not to make him repeat himself and orders her to stand up one last time, saying he could finish her off and go home. Giving up, the blonde asks if all Interrealm delivery guys are like the protagonist. But flipping the question, he asks if all noble aristocrats are like her and her family. Then she stands up asking what the delivery guy wants, and he asks her to take him outside because he's going to use her as a hostage. The girl grabs the doorknob and says the guards will follow them as soon as they leave the castle, but the MC says he knows that. Adelia then says she's curious to see how this plan will work, and the MC tells her to just look forward and walk. Then outside, he tells everyone to get out of his way if they don't want to see her in a bad situation. With that, everyone gets scared, but the blonde tells everyone she's fine and that they should do what the MC says. Taking advantage of their hesitation, the protagonist threatens even more, so they'll move out of his way without trouble. However, with his back turned to the knights, one of them steps closer to the boy thinking this is his chance and starts casting a gravity spell, causing the protagonist and even the red-haired spirit to feel a heavy pressure. The protagonist wonders what's happening, and the spirit tells him it's gravitational magic. The other guards use the chance to approach Adelia and ask if she's okay. She says she is and asks about the delivery guy. In a bad situation, the MC wonders what he should do now, and maybe some of the things Sloane gave him could help. Suddenly, the red-haired girl yells at the boy, calling him an idiot and telling him to use the ring. Doing that, the Ring of Uranos activates. With the ability to absorb all kinds of magic, the protagonist cancels out the gravity spell. However, with the ring activating the Wrath of Uranos, all the gravity is redirected onto the guards who panic, thinking this is impossible. Adelia wonders if the boy copied and reflected the magic words of the gravity spell. Now in a good position, he says the ring did a good job as well as the sword and the delivery box, which was also very useful, and he tells everyone to freeze. The blonde asks who the protagonist really is, and he replies that he's just a delivery guy. She says he has the skills of a sword master and the power to disrupt magic circles. She doubts he's just a delivery guy, but the MC simply tells her to keep walking, and she obeys. Then she offers to clear the false accusations against the protagonist if he tells her who he really is, and she asks him not to lie because she can tell how much of a liar someone is. So the protagonist says he's a delivery guy who's strong enough to be a sword master and destroy magic circles, and that makes her mad. However, the delivery guy says he's telling the truth, but she still asks why she should believe he's just a delivery man. Until the MC says he forgot to mention something, and when she asks what he says, he's considered a pretty average guy in his own world. The girl then asks what his realm is like, and the delivery guy replies that it's pretty cool, even talks about the seasons. But she keeps asking non-stop questions about the kinds of creatures and the mana density of this world compared to his own, and he gets annoyed. So the protagonist asks the red-haired spirit again why the map isn't working, and she replies that she doesn't know. The crazed boy ends up threatening her, but even then she says she really has no idea what's going on. Then the spirit asks to take a look at the protagonist's contract, and he questions her about why. He turns his bracelet back into a piece of paper and tells her to search properly. When she finds something, she asks the MC if he sees anything weird. There are some very tiny lines of text, and the delivery guy asks what that is. The red-haired girl then hands him a giant magnifying glass so he can read it, and he thanks her while Adelia is just left abandoned there. When he looks closely, it says the employee must collect all the utensils used by the client. Otherwise, there's no way to return. This is to protect the environment of the other realms, but the protagonist gets irritated because the writing was way too small. He then asks how the red-haired girl knew about this hidden line in the contract, and she says she fell for the same trick. Adelia realizes the MC figured out why he can't return and asks if he still wants to leave the castle. The MC asks where he can find her sister, and she says she doesn't know where she is. And when the spell-casting delivery guy swings his sword, with courage, Adelia tells him to go ahead with it unless he needs to collect her utensils to return. The delivery man, looking serious, says it's fine. They'll just look for them himself, but Adelia warns that the knights won't just sit still. As the MC turns his back, she offers a deal. He does her a favor, and she'll hand over the utensils, but he answers no. Then she warns the protagonist that the guards had to hold themselves back earlier, but if the MC goes without her, he'll have trouble. The red-haired girl also says that if Benzali's guards show up, things will definitely get much harder. The blonde says it's not a difficult favor for the MC, just something she can't do because of her position, and the spirit says it might be better to accept. So when the delivery guy is about to agree to the favor, someone appears shouting for Adelia, and it's none other than Selena with a bowl on her hand, which turns out to be exactly the utensils the delivery guy needs. With that expression, the boy says is surprised to see her there, and Adelia can't believe this situation. The MC starts running toward her, telling the red-haired girl to catch her. And Adelia screams desperately, begging her sister to run. So she starts fleeing from the protagonist going down the stairs. The spirit is with him, saying they can't let her get away, and the MC says he knows that. But passing through a door, they wonder where she is until the red-haired girl manages to find her. The poor girl is now protected by her family's guards, and even Adelia was running after them, saying it's not too late for the MC to accept her offer. But the spirit says she looks like she might pass out before they make any deal, and the protagonist actually agrees. The guards then begin to take battle positions to protect Selena. The protagonist gets stressed and tells everyone to go all at once while he's putting away his weapon, and the spirit asks why he's doing that. And when the guards attack, the MC runs toward them with no weapon in his hand. He tells the red-haired girl to hold on tight, and she asks what he's doing. When a guard gets close, the MC defends himself using his delivery box and counters with a kick to the guy's gut. The poor guy went flying and screamed in pain, crashing down in front of the other guards who told him not to lower his guard. The two in the back are mags and start casting fire magic toward the protagonist. The delivery guy puts his case in front of him to protect himself and even thanks them for the attack. With that, the two mags are shocked that a simple delivery guy absorbed their magic. Then with impressive speed, the delivery guy attacks both guards saying they are way too slow. But another one shows up with a sword, and in a smooth move, he just dodges, ending up behind the knight. Scared, the poor guy asks what kind of movement that was. He's never seen anything like it, and the MC replies that it's Parker. Aiming a kick at the knight, he hits him square in the chest, but there are still many guards left. And Selena starts running through the house calling for help. Saying she's annoying and unbearable, the MC begins casting a spell with his ring. Sparks begin to fly, creating a giant fire spell that even pushes him backward. Selena, seeing this, says the protagonist is a monster. But since the MC's magic sent him flying backward, he ended up catching up to her easier than expected. And with a sarcastically gentle expression, he calls her dear customer, saying he's here to collect her plates and spoons. Terrified, she hands him over without even thinking twice, begging him to leave, still being polite. He thanks her for doing that while the red-haired girl says he's acting like a delivery guy again. When the MC opens the map, it's finally glowing, and the spirit tells him to hurry and take them home already. Then a portal just like the one in his storage begins to open and grow until with a smile. The delivery guy waves goodbye while saying it was horrible meeting them and he never wants to see them again. But Adelia is desperate, begging them not to leave. Even so, the two go through the portal and the MC says it was harder than he thought. And that was just his first day. But for some reason, the portal hasn't closed yet, and the spirit questions why when the MC looks, he's confused too. And out of nowhere, someone comes flying through the portal, crashing into the poor guy and landing on top of him. After trying to get up, he asks what just happened, but gets scared when he sees Adelia and shouts, asking what she's doing there. And in a creepy tone, she stands up and asks where the protagonist thinks is going. The delivery guy is left speechless. But suddenly, the blonde asks what kind of poor place this is and how anyone could live somewhere like that. Embarrassed, the MC tries to say something but can't, and she asks what he wants until annoyed, he gets up and pushes her off, telling her to get off of him. Then the annoying girl puts on an act asking how the MC could do that to such a delicate girl like her, but he replies that it's a bit late for her innocent girl act. And she gets irritated asking what he means by that until the delivery guy pulls his sword out of his box saying it doesn't make sense to try reasoning with her right now. Frightened, she asks how he can do this considering she's pretty in his world, and the MC says her face is the least of his concerns right now. But again, she asks what kind of poor place this is, and the MC asks why she wants to know, and she says it's to tell her story. However, saying he's not interested in that, he starts walking toward the portal and Adelia asks where he's going. He replies saying he's going home, but the blonde wants to know how she's going to return to hers. The NC then asks her why he should care about a stalker, and she wonders how she's supposed to wash herself in a place like this. But just wishing her good luck, he walks away, leaving the poor girl all alone there. Even tries to touch the portal, but it seems to hurt her. Then she sits down, sad and unsure of what to do in this situation, and she sits to think things through. But even so, she says she won't give up. She can't give up just yet. She thinks to herself that she knows the MC has to make one delivery a day, and she's sure he'll come back there tomorrow. So since he'll be back soon, she'll be fine. Time passes and she spends the entire night in that shack. The protagonist, after returning to the restaurant, notices that his brother's already asleep and covers him up again saying he doesn't know why he tosses and turns so much. Sitting down, he says he's exhausted. He even starts talking to his sleeping brother, telling him to guess everything that happened to him today. That there were mags in nights like in movies, that they even threw fireballs at him, but his delivery box saved him. Somehow he got through all that and even got a ring, so now he just needs to collect his payment. And he says that now he'll be able to go to the hospital whenever he needs to without feeling guilty about the money. Then the MC wishes his brother good night, trying to sleep next to him. But even so, he starts trembling because it's not easy for a regular human to go through everything he did. The next day, when the sun rises, the boy is already ready, telling his brother he's heading out, and Tavane wishes him good luck. But the MC says the other realms are totally peaceful, so there's nothing to worry about. However, after he leaves, his brother calls him a liar, getting irritated. He says he can't rely on the MC forever and that he has to do something about it himself. Leaning against the wall, he wonders if there's anything he can do for himself until someone appears and says he can't do anything alone. And startled, he asks who said that. This person says he couldn't do it by himself, but with help, it might be possible. And he extends his hand to Taehyun, offering him a business proposal. Meanwhile, the protagonist after passing through the portal says is feeling heavy and tired until he sees the girl he left alone the day before. Adelise says she's been waiting for the boy since yesterday, calling him Mr. Delivery Man. But when the MC asks her why she's calling him that, she says the MC never told her his name before. And he replies that even so, he doesn't plan to tell her anything and asks what she still wants being there. Shouting, she asks the delivery guy to accept her as his companion. Confused by this, he asks what she means, and out of nowhere, the spirit appears, asking what Adelia wants this early in the morning. Adelia says she's sure the protagonist knows nothing about the next realms he'll be traveling to, but she can help him. But the delivery guy asks why she wants this so badly and what exactly she wants. She then replies that she hopes the MC will keep secret what she's about to say, but he says he won't. Even so, she says her father is a power-hungry man and even founded an organization known as the Shadows, which is dedicated to collecting all information across the continent. And currently, she is one of its leaders. The MC is startled by the organization's awful name. While the spirit says it seems Adelia is more important than she thought. The blonde says she believes she proved herself worthy when she realized the MC was from another realm. But even so, the MC still refuses. So she says she only wants to collect information through the protagonist, and he asks if that doesn't make her a bit biased. Adelia responds saying she's been working in this for 10 years and can handle that kind of judgment. With that, the MC is surprised at her 10 years of experience, considering she doesn't look older than 20. But then he replies saying it's fine. He'll accept, and she is clearly surprised. Thanking the delivery guy, she promises he won't regret it, but the MC asks her to answer his questions. The red-haired girl asks what the protagonist plans to do now, and he says he intends to accept, but then get rid of her later. She asks what he means by that, but the delivery guy just tells her not to worry. Adelia, happy, tells the MC she'll wait for him to return to her land after the delivery since she only has one scroll, but she already opens the scroll creating a portal that takes them to the realm where she lives. And after passing through the portal, the delivery guy says he can't get used to all this brightness, and the spirit calls him whiny. However, for some reason, there's a huge commotion in the square. So the boy asks Adelia why there are so many people gathered there. When the blonde looks scared, the protagonist asks what's going on, and she points ahead. All the commotion is because of two people who look ready to meet Jesus. And on top of that, one of them is Adelia's younger sister, Selena. For some reason, there's a man behind them holding a sword, with Selena nervously telling her father that she's the only one to blame and that the innocent beside her doesn't deserve this. But the boy says Selena is innocent and that he alone planned Benzala's death, but gets kicked in the back. Going back a bit in time, Selena goes to a cell to meet the boy named Apicius. She asks him to give her the ring, but he refuses because it could put her in danger. But she reveals that she has someone from another world to take the blame in his place, and he refuses because that person is innocent. Back to the present, the man with the sword calls the boy noisy, and Selena tells him to stop kicking him until the Count Benzali appears saying that's enough. Selena, desperate, asks Apicius if he's okay, and he answers yes. And while he apologizes for being useless and says he's not worthy of her sacrifice, Selena says is very important to her. The protagonist, seeing this, asks Adelia if that isn't her sister. Unsure of what's happening, the blonde says she's not certain either, until the accountant Benzali orders the man with the sword to disconnect both of their heads. And as the man prepares himself, Apicius thanks Selena for everything and says goodbye, telling her he'll be seeing her again soon. With that, the MC asks if they shouldn't try to stop this, and the red-haired girl says she expected nothing less from Benzali. Adelis replies that they need to analyze the situation first, but the MC says there's no time for that. Then the man with the sword is about to finish his task. But before that happens, the blonde yells from a distance, telling him to stop. Everyone looks around confused until some people start talking about Adelia showing up and right next to a man after having disappeared. And they even say it looks like she's been through some rough times. Then Benzeli notices his daughter is there and asks where she's been since they look for her everywhere. But nervous, she thinks she just needs to give the right answer to calm her father and save their lives. However, the protagonist takes a few steps forward and says those two up there are innocent. And that's why it would be a huge mistake to execute them, but the blonde, worried, says he can't speak so rudely to her father. Still, he tells her to get involved in the matter too, and she says she can't think of anything to say until Benzeli interrupts their conversation asking who the protagonist is, and he introduces himself as a delivery guy from another world and shows his delivery case to prove what he's saying. Some people start yelling at the MC, telling him to lower his tone and speak properly with the accountant. But Benzeli says it's okay. He says he understands who the protagonist is, but asks what made him question his judgment. The MC then asks what made him so sure those two people are guilty. The accountant says he heard that someone with the Ring of Courage would send him to the afterlife, and Selena was sentenced along with him for helping him escape his cell. However, the MC says that's strange because he entered the castle yesterday. And not only that, he also has the Ring of Courage, so the delivery guy asks if that makes him guilty now. With that, people start questioning if the two are innocent, if what the MC is saying is true. But Benzeli claims that the ring the protagonist has is fake because the real one has a mark on the inside. Even so, the MC asks Adelia to confirm the ring's authenticity, and she does. When she checks the inside of the ring, there really is a mark with the name Benzeli engraved on it. So Adelia tells her father that she knows a mage engraved his name on the ring, and it's definitely there. This makes people start to believe that the MC is the true bearer, but they wonder how he got the ring. The MC then shouts saying that the mere fact that the ring is in the possession of the protagonist is enough to prove the two up there are innocent. And not to mention, the delivery guy didn't enter the castle to assassinate him. Showing a bowl, he says that Selena simply ordered fried noodles the day before, and Selena didn't visit Apicius in his cell to release him. She just wanted to share her meal with him. Being a bit slow, she even asks herself if that's really why, but Apicius tells them to stay quiet for now. Then the delivery guy says no one has any evidence that there was an attempt, which makes him wonder if there's some conspiracy. The accountant then calls for someone named Dorian, who shows up right away. He questions him about all this since he's the one in charge of the investigation, and Dorian, nervous, tries to explain but completely fumbles. Meanwhile, the MC, pleased, asks the red-haired girl if this is enough to stop the execution, and she says he's got nerves of steel. Adelia asks the boy if he has an informant, but the delivery guy questions why he would have one. Then she asks how he knows that Selena and Apicius are in love, and he says it was just a guess based on everything he saw. Adelia says then the MC must have been to this realm before, but he says that's not it. Out of nowhere, a sphere that's not meant to be kicked appears at their feet. The protagonist is horrified by the sight and left speechless seeing something like that so close. The accountant had just executed the head of the investigation instead of Selena and Apicius. But while the MC is still shocked, the red-haired girl places her hand on his face, telling him not to look. In the meantime, she even calls him a crazy idiot, but everyone goes silent when the accountant orders them to be quiet. When they kneel, the MC asks if they should do the same, but the spirit says they're not from this world. Benzeli stands up saying that for the crime of mishandling investigation and altering the final judgment, Dorian paid with his life. And since it was proven that Selena and Apicius are innocent, they will be released with compensation. But then he looks at the MC with a terrifying gaze. The poor guy wonders if that's directed at him, and the spirit tells him not to let himself be intimidated. But out of nowhere, the accountant shows a kind side and says he's going to thank the protagonist for being the hero who stopped his daughter's execution by throwing a festival. With that, even with a ball rolling on the ground, everyone there is happy and thanking the accountant. The delivery guy, confused, says all of this is sudden, and Adelia says even the peasants get to eat good food during the festival. She takes the opportunity to thank the protagonist, and he asks why. She says she's happy he saved her sister. Even Selena, along with the boy, comes over to thank the protagonist. But Apicius tells Selena she has to look him in the eye when she thanks him. Apicius then thanks the protagonist properly, and the MC thinks this boy is the only normal person in this strange world. The boy says very few people would have helped him, and the MC says he has a personal reason for helping others. But the delivery guy looks toward where the accountant is with a serious expression, and the red-haired girl asks what's wrong with him. He says it's nothing. He just really hates fathers who fail to be good to their children. Where the accountant is, he's angry, saying that Dorian's head was worth more than both of theirs combined. Now with someone else, he asks about some information, and revealing herself as a traitor, Adelia wearing a mask, informs him that she succeeded in becoming the protagonist's companion. Please, the accountant says he knew he could count on her. But Adelia only asks for a bit more time and she'll be sure to gain his trust and control. Sometime later in the castle, the MC is with Hella. The two of them seem thoughtful. Then Hella asks the MC if he's okay, and the delivery guy answers that he is. He's just never seen a head separated from a body before, but is fine. The redhead girl says that compared to the MC, that airhead Selena is amazing, but saying that's a bit hard to hear, he replies that he really is fine. Meanwhile, all those people are happy, laughing, and eating, and the MC asks how all these people are okay after seeing that, and the spirit says they see things like that every day. Besides, there's something the protagonist is very wrong about. Not everyone in this world has the stomach to witness things like that. There are others who suffer just like the protagonist. Out of nowhere, the delivery guy starts laughing and says she's right, even teasing Hella, making her ask if that's what she gets for trying to comfort him. Then Adelia appears beside them. The MC asks what she wants and she says he should come inside since the festival is in his honor. Once inside, the blonde asks how the delivery business is going and he says he's only having problems, the one she herself is causing. But she says she bets he'd get a lot of orders if the people down there knew how good the food from his kingdom is. The MC says he thinks so too, and the blonde asks if he's ever tried promoting himself. He replies that no one listens to him, and the blonde says maybe he needs to meet certain requirements to sell in that kingdom. But then a few more people show up asking for the protagonist's attention. They inform him that accountant Benzali is calling for him and ask if he'll go to see him. Since he has no reason to refuse, he accepts, and the blonde asks where her father is. But one of the guards informs them that Benzali asked for the protagonist to come alone. So that's how it is. But before going, the MC tells her that his name is Sayatasia, and she's really surprised by that. She even thanks him for telling her his name, and the spirit says she thought the protagonist hated her. When she followed him through the portal, it seemed like he couldn't stand her, and he says he really didn't like it, but it doesn't hurt to say her name. Even so, she asks why this sudden change of heart. And the MC says he just felt sorry for her because it's obvious she grew up without a father's love. Then Hell asks if he's in love with her, but he calls her crazy. The delivery guy says he just feels sad for her, and that's really it. And after Hella says her father's the strongest man on the continent, the MC says he's just a human. And the red-haired child starts hitting him, asking if he didn't see Benzali execute someone just a few minutes ago. But the scene changes to the protagonist in the throne room where the accountant is sitting. Benzali stares deep into the MC's eyes, and the delivery guy asks Hella why he's doing that, and she replies that he's just trying to look cool. Benzali tells the MC that he called him there because he wanted to ask him something, and the MC says he'll answer. However, the red-haired girl immediately tells the MC to refuse no matter what because he might end up dead if he angers the accountant. So the protagonist asks if he can at least hear the request before deciding whether to agree. The accountant then asks if he can make a request with the protagonist. This leaves the delivery guy and the magical spirit confused, not understanding anything, but the scene shifts to the MC in another place. In disbelief that the accountant called him just to order food, but that's still better than an order that could send him to Narnia. The boy returns to his restaurant, but something feels different. There are a bunch of customers asking for all sorts of things, leaving Taeyang extremely busy, and the protagonist asks why it's so packed. The MC's brother is there taking care of a customer, and the delivery guy starts pinching himself, wondering if this is a dream. Then Taeyang notices that the MC has arrived and asks if he's okay, and he replies that he is. Sometime later, the customers are leaving and Taeyang is saying goodbye to them. After everything is done, he thanks the protagonist who says he only handled a few tables. Then Taeyang asks the protagonist to let him see the delivery orders he needs to handle. In total, there are 3 orders to be made, and the delivery guy informs him that all of them have to be in large size. Then the scene changes to Taeyang already in the kitchen preparing them, and the MC notices that he's singing while cooking. So he asks his brother if he has any good news lately, but Taeyang says there's nothing in particular. Even so, the delivery guy asks if that's really true and asks if Sloane came there to see him. Taeyang then asks why the guy who hired him would come to the restaurant to meet him, and the protagonist lets it go. But afterward, his brother asks why he's so quiet, and the MC just says it's nothing. And as he's leaving, the delivery guy turns around and speaks to his brother, asking him not to push himself harder than he should. But after the MC leaves, Taehyun wonders how he's not supposed to push himself when his own brother is risking his life at his job. And with a mini potion in his hand, he says he has to give it his all too. The scene changes to that shack. Hella is there, bored, until she sees the protagonist. She calls out to him and he says hi. Hella asks the MC why he looks so down, and he vents, telling her that it seems like his brother is secretly meeting someone. Misunderstanding the situation, Hella thinks the protagonist has some kind of forbidden love for his brother and calls him sick. The MC says Taehyung suddenly got better, and the red-haired girl asks if maybe it's a doctor, which would actually be a good thing. He says it would be good, but he can't help but feel that something strange is going on. Hella asks the MC what he thinks it could be. The delivery guy says his brother never liked talking to anyone besides him, but now he's chatting with all the customers and that's weird. Then the red-haired girl asks if the MC has any idea. He says he does, but he can't tell her and she asks why. The boy says it's just a hunch, and he'll feel bad if he's wrong. Hella asks if that's the only reason, and he questions what else it could be, and annoyed, she says he didn't need to bring that up. But now with no time to waste, they have to go do their deliveries. And the MC asks if she isn't a little too old to be getting upset over something like that. And she asks if he thinks she's really that old. Just to tease her, he replies that she doesn't look a day over 20, and it works because she tells him to shut up. In his thoughts, the MC says that Hella isn't trustworthy either, so he has to keep his thoughts to himself. The scene shifts to the protagonist delivering the client's order. It turns out to be accountant Benzali who says it looks delicious, and the delivery guy tells him to enjoy his meal. Hella asks him if he's not worried Benzali might not like the food, but he says he trusts his brother's cooking skills. However, the red-haired girl says that the accountant is known for being very picky with taste, and yet the MC remains calm. Then when the accountant and his daughter take a bite of the fried chicken, they put it in their mouths, savoring the flavor, and both the accountant and Adelia highly praise the food. The protagonist tells Hella, "I told you they'd like it," and the poor girl can't believe what she's seeing. The accountant says the sauce is salty yet sweet, and the fried meat is crispy on the outside but tender on the inside. That's amazing. Adelia also says she loves the sweet sauce flavor, and the protagonist tells her she's very kind. Benzali and his daughter say now they understand why spicy food is added. It makes everything taste better. Hella then asks if it really is that good, and the MC says she just hasn't had the chance to eat his brother's food yet. Adelia's father says the meals he ordered before are awful, but now it seems Sloan really outed himself. When his daughter asks if he's ordered food from Outer Realms before, he says yes. But the previous delivery guy was bad at cooking. And once in a while, it's good to try food no one in his world has ever tasted, and Adelia is outraged. Because her father never shared that with her, and he apologizes for it, though Hella seems a bit off. Adelia and her father invite the MC to eat with them since he barely ate at the festival, but even so, he declines. Since the two seem to be having a father-daughter moment, he says he'll step out so they can enjoy it. As he's leaving, he hears Adelia asking the accountant what the last delivery guy was like, and Benzali says he was way too rude. Elsewhere, the MC and Hella are taking a break, but she still seems a little down, and the protagonist notices this. So looking at her, he brings it up by asking if Benzali seems gentle that often, and in a cold tone, she says she doesn't know. Annoyed, the MC thinks he'll let that slide since she seems pretty depressed. But when she speaks in a sad tone, he realizes she really does seem to be feeling bad. She then asks if he hasn't figured out why she's like this, and he says no. She says the person who used to cook before the MC was her, and the MC says he'd have thought about that possibility too. But since it seemed like a sensitive topic, he didn't want to ask anything, and Hella says she thinks he's very strange. Even so, the MC just says he prefers to respect others. And Hella says she knows the protagonist has a million questions for her until when the MC says she's wrong, out of nowhere, she brings up someone named Jonathan Blade. That's the name of her boyfriend, and he was the one who used to make deliveries, the one Benzali complained about. He was also human, saying it's a cool name. The MC asks what he was like, and she says he always wore leather clothes. The delivery guy asks what his face looked like, but she says she doesn't remember. In a sad tone, the red-haired girl says she completely forgot, and the MC wonders how that's possible. No matter how hard she tries, the girl can't remember him, and the protagonist tries to comfort her by saying not to force it. Then she asks if he remembers the keychain he received, and the MC says yes. She says that's what his face looks like now. And the delivery guy asks her if he likes skulls and motorcycles, and the spirit questions how he knows that. The girl says her boyfriend is an underworld knight, so their bikes tend to get damaged by fire, and the MC is surprised. He imagines what he might look like, almost like a real-life Ghost Rider, but the red-haired girl seems to notice the protagonist's lack of confidence and stares at him. She asks if he trusts her. The delivery guy says he's not sure, but asks why she's asking, and she says she knows he doesn't trust her. She gives him a strange smile, and the protagonist gets scared asking what she wants. But she just stands up saying they have to get back to work until a knight shows up telling the delivery guy that Adelia is calling for him. After Hella shrinks her size, she says this conversation eased her mind a bit, and the MC says is glad for her. Inside the castle, he meets Adelia and her father and wonders why she seems so embarrassed. The accountant hands the delivery guy his payment, saying it's a valuable item and might be enough for the protagonist. But after the NC thanks him, the accountant says he has another gift, one even more special for him. Totally embarrassed, Adelia immediately says she'll be under the care of the poor protagonist. The guy, along with Hella, doesn't seem very happy about this gift. So the protagonist quickly says that he's fine and doesn't need that, trying to refuse. The accountant asks if he didn't like it. The poor guy says he just doesn't accept humans as gifts. He understands the protagonist's explanation and says it's okay. And the delivery guy starts feeling dizzy. But Adelia says it's fine if he refuses because they can start by being friends first. That's why Benzali says he'll leave the two alone. And the blonde girl asks if the MC doesn't want to stay a bit longer. Touching her head, her father says he'll give them some space and tells her to be careful. Shocked, the MC and Hella ask if this is the same guy who tried to take his other daughter to heaven. Now left alone, the blonde girl tries to get closer to the delivery guy who starts backing away. She asks where they are going now, calling him dear. But the poor guy is speechless and Hella tells him to run from that. However, when he does, Adelia notices and asks if he's forgetting something. She shows him the protagonist's bowl and asks if he doesn't need it to return to the wooden cabin. Indignant, the delivery guy asks why they are still being blackmailed over a bowl. That really screws them over. Then when the blonde is about to say she's excited to be with the MC, he says he wants something in return first. He reminds her that she once said she's one of the top 3 most well-informed people in this world, and he wants her to use that for him. The girl says as long as he doesn't ask for anything impossible, she can help him, and he agrees to that then. The magical spirit asks if the delivery guy is sure about this decision, and he says yes. And Adelia realizes he has a spirit with him. The MC says he does, but she only exists to annoy him, and Hella says it's the other way around. After all that discussion, the blonde girl asks when they are going to the cabin, and the MC says it'll be as soon as he gets his next delivery. So she says she knows the perfect person to recommend him, a certain Artemage. But the scene shifts to Benzali in his kitchen. The accountant is eating, and after finishing his meal, he simply says the food is terrible. The accountant asks someone if he can order food from somewhere else. But that old man, the caretaker in this case, says it's better that the accountant asks the protagonist about that. He then says that this time, the old man hired someone decent. And the caretaker replies that he always takes care to choose only the best. But Benzali brings up the human delivery guy from before, saying he made horrible food. The old man says there are few who could satisfy his taste, because everyone else who ordered from the last guy liked it. The accountant says again that he was really terrible, and the old man says that even so, he kept insisting on ordering from him. Getting irritated, Benzali says he didn't like the tone Sloane used. Without bowing his head, the janitor says that he didn't like hearing him batten off his employees either. However, changing the subject, the accountant says he almost lost his daughter today, and the old man says that must have been terrible for him. But irritated, the accountant says it was because of his delivery man, so he should take responsibility for that. However, Sloane knows that Benzali manipulated everything for those situations to happen, and he tells in all the manipulations and atrocities the man was planning to do, even involving his daughter, in all of it. Benzali doesn't even deny it and says the protagonist made him execute one of his best men. The janitor says that was his fault, but the accountant explains that since the protagonist managed to disappear, he had to change the whole plan. Then standing up, the old man says that all the MC did was try to survive that situation, and they should forget about it. He even tells Benzali he has no idea how calm the old man has been with him. That night he executed was a cheap price for having Adelia stalk the protagonist, and Sloane threatens him, saying he better not try to step over his employee again, leaving the man alone at his desk. He gets angry and crushes a wine glass in his hand, wondering how the janitor dares to act so arrogantly when all he does is sell food and after being left alone in the kitchen. With a furious look, Benzali says he wants to see if the janitor will keep acting that way after what he's going to do to the NC. But shifting scenes to the entrance of the castle, Selena, with teary eyes, asks if her sister really has to leave already. Adelia tells her not to cry because she'll be back home soon, and the MC is standing behind thinking how cliché this is. Even Selena's boyfriend is there, thanking the protagonist again for saving his life. And the MC tells him to be careful and stay out of Benzala's sight, so the boy says he's leaving that place very soon. The delivery guy hands his helmet to Adalia, telling her to put it on because they'll be riding his scooter, and she asks if that's some kind of horse. He replies that it's not a horse, but it's fast and it's to protect her head, and she's impressed. Saying their goodbyes, the three ride off on the motorcycle. Then the protagonist revs the engine and starts pulling away from Selena and her boyfriend. The boy says they also need to get ready to leave, but she's still worried. Even so, he tells her they'll be fine. In his thoughts, Apicius hopes they stay safe on their journey. But switching scenes, someone seems irritated. Pouring a green liquid, the man says the calculations were perfect and wonders why his experiment didn't work. Even so, when he looks to the side, the madman thinks there's no way he could be wrong because he's always right, and he just needs to find a test subject that's more resilient. And he wonders what he should choose as his next guinea pig. An ideal candidate would be a unique and strong specimen. Changing scenes again. The delivery guy says the plaza is packed, and Adlai says it's because the Archmage domain is the most populated place on the continent. There are so many people that the delivery guy even bumps into others. He asks if all Archmages live in places like this, but the blonde says others have their own preferences. Then the protagonist asks where he is, and she points to a tower, saying he's in there. The delivery guy and Hella say that's a giant tower, and they definitely have weird taste for houses. And the blonde says not all are like that. Some prefer normal houses, while others live in caves. The delivery guy asks if Hella has ever been to this place, and she says she's only been to places where she received orders. She's been to the skies and even the demon realm among many others, and the protagonist is impressed. And if you include the realms where humans aren't allowed in, there are still dozens left. And Adlai notices he's talking to himself again. So she asks what the NC is talking about with the red-haired girl. But out of nowhere, Hela tells the NC to give his keychain to the blonde, and he asks why but does it anyway. When the protagonist hands her his keychain, Adelia says it looks like those figurines called Hell Knights. And when she picks up the keychain, the red-haired girl appears, startling her, making the poor girl scream in desperation. With that, Hella starts mocking the blonde, but then she shrinks, jumping on top of Adelia's head and complimenting her scent, and the blonde thanks her. The MC asks if she's ever seen a spirit like the red-haired one, and she answers that it's her first time seeing one in human form. He also asks the blonde what she meant earlier when she mentioned the Knight from Hell. She explains that they are the ones who snatch sinners and drive them to the demonic realm. Since demons can't fight each other due to rules, the Knight brings sinners so they can unleash their rage on them. But no one knows much about them. They appear and disappear so quickly that no one knows what else they do. Hella asks what she herself thinks about that. She says she believes they just make deliveries and do whatever they want, and the MC asks why she thinks that. She answers that they make deliveries, but don't seem to serve any demon, and the MC mocks her for lacking information. Since she brags about being well informed in the kingdom, that makes her angry, saying there's no way to know much about it. The delivery guy keeps teasing her, but when the girl's about to complain, she just stops because they've arrived at the castle entrance. Then the protagonist asks if it's okay for them to just walk in like this, and she says that since they are known, it shouldn't be a problem. However, when the MC is about to enter, the door just opens by itself and he gets startled. With that, the protagonist asks if this is a trap, but Adelia says it was the Archmage who opened the door for them. The delivery guy then asks if she doesn't know anything, but the girl says he only asked questions that are impossible to answer definitively. And she says that normal people would never see Hell Knights or Archmages, but the MC is already climbing the stairs alone. Adelia gets annoyed, saying she's doing her best to help him, and he doesn't even care, while the spirit is just listening to her complain. Then the blonde asks what she's thinking about to be so quiet. And Hella says it's nothing important, and Adelia says that's a relief then. However, the two of them hear the protagonist shouting and get startled, asking what happened until they start running, calling out to Taja, thinking something happened to him. Back with the delivery guy, an old man is trying to take the MC's box, and the poor guy is asking him who he is. When Adelia arrives, she asks the Archmage what he's doing, and the old man freezes in fear. So much that he goes quiet and sits down in a chair after seeing Benzala's daughter. Then pretending nothing happened, the Archmage says it looks like he has guests and says it's a pleasure to meet them, introducing himself as Gregory, the one who is almost approaching the truth. While Adelia goes to ask if he remembers her and he answers yes, the MC is saying that this old man is completely insane. And he asks what the man meant by almost approaching the truth and asks if he's close or not. Then the blonde explains that it refers to those who strengthen the laws of nature, and the MC says that means they are not close to the truth. The Archmage gets indignant, saying the MC knows nothing about his research, and he just doesn't have the perfect artifact for it. But the delivery guy brings up a saying that a master craftsman never blames his tools. And getting even more irritated, the old man says the protagonist doesn't even know what mana is, and the blonde tells him to try to calm down. Then the Archmage asks for the MC's box so he can prove himself to the protagonist, and the delivery guy asks what he wants to prove. Shouting, the old man says he's going to prove how close he is to the truth, obviously. But the MC wants to know why he would hand over his box to a fraud who's supposedly close to the truth, and that drives the old man mad. He says he's never been insulted like that in his life, and Adelia calls out the protagonist who plays dumb. The delivery guy asks if the old man knows what this box is, and the old man says it was forged by a god, but is now being used to deliver noodles. Shocked, the delivery guy asks how he knows that, and the Archmage asks if the protagonist believes him now. The old man says he experimented on several artifacts and wanted to borrow the delivery guy's, but the delivery guy asks what happened to the others. He tries to dodge the question, and Hella realizes he's just a fraud and warns the protagonist. Then in a desperate move, the Archmage casts a spell on the delivery guy to forcibly take the case, and the protagonist is startled by the sudden attack. The old man says that if he wants to live, he better hand over the delivery case. Then he casts another spell to blind the NC. He charges forward thinking this is his chance. When the spell hits the protagonist's case, the Archmage already gets excited just thinking about touching the box. But the delivery guy in a serious tone simply apologizes, because everything the old man did was pointless, and he even draws his sword. Swinging it, the delivery guy says he has the right to refuse, and that's exactly what he's going to do. With that, he sends the Archmage flying, and the stone that was in the old man's hand falls right into the delivery guy's hand, and Hela says that's a gem. When the protagonist looks at the stone, it begins to react with the delivery box, and it seems like joining the two activates an anonymous mode. The delivery guy wonders what kind of mode that is, while some kind of system asks him if he wants to use the jade gem. Hela asks the NC what that thing is that popped up for him, and Adelia asks what he's looking at. But the delivery guy asks if the spirit can see it too, and she along with the blonde says no. The MC says there's a floating window asking if he wants to use the gem together with the delivery case, and both girls are surprised until the Archmage tells the delivery guy he should say yes because he has to use the jade. But the MC gets irritated with the old man and says he should just finish him off, and the redhead and the blonde say he doesn't have the guts. Even so, the old man says is begging the MC to use the gem, and the delivery guy says is not going to use it because it might break his delivery case, and the spirit agrees with him. But the Archmage says that since the MC received a prompt asking if he wanted to use the gem, that's a guarantee they are compatible. However, the MC replies that doesn't mean the message said the jade wouldn't break his case. So now the Archmage can't convince the MC and starts to get nervous. Then the delivery guy says he's going to press the no option, and the old man begs him not to do that, saying this is an artifact from another world, it might just cause a different reaction, but he swears it won't break. Adelia asks if the delivery guy can't at least try it since the old man is on his knees, and Hela says that if it breaks, it'll be his responsibility. Then the MC says he'll only use the jade if the old man does him a favor, and he says he'll do anything. The delivery guy asks him if he's hungry, and if he is, he should place an order, and he'll even get free pickles on the side. And the redhead says the pickles were always free. Sometime later, the delivery guy returns to the cabin, saying it was a crazy day, and Hela says it took a long time too. The redhead asks if the MC is really going to use the gem, and he says maybe he will. Hela says she can't help him with that, and the MC says he didn't expect anything from her anyway, which makes her angry. Then he says they should ask someone who actually knows something, and when the spirit asks who that person would be, the MC calls for Mr. Sloan, and the redhead doubts he'll actually show up. But the man is right there asking if someone called for him, and the girl is surprised. The delivery guy says he wants to ask him something, and the old man says he'll help. The MC then asks what that thing is that popped up, and while Hela can't see anything, Sloan seems to see it. The janitor says it's a device that makes communication between dimensions easier and more effective. The delivery guy and Hela asked what that means. So he tries to explain in the simplest way possible, saying that since there are realms with different customs and lifestyles, it can be kind of scary to meet other people, especially when meeting people who have magical powers that don't exist in his own realm. So this window is meant to help him. With all that giving him a hand, all those strange things, the MC and Hela start to understand with that explanation. But the spirit, finding something odd, asks if she also had that kind of help when she did deliveries. Getting annoyed, she asks the old man why she didn't have something like that, and he says it was thanks to her experiences that he developed it. The caretaker also says that since the MC's box is literally indestructible, he doesn't need to worry about anything regarding the gem. Grateful, the delivery guy also asks if there's any rule about who can place orders. Since some people get scared just hearing him talk about food deliveries, so Sloan asks the delivery guy what he thinks would happen if Benzeli went to his world, and the MC says maybe he'd be arrested for being a tyrant. Then he would ask the accountant how he managed to go there, and the old man says it's the same with them. There are people who just don't know about food delivery. The delivery guy says Adelia asked if only nobles can place orders, and the caretaker says that over there, only they have that privilege. With that, the MC concludes that they really won't be able to get just any commoner to place an order. The old man then asks if that's all the delivery guy wanted to ask, and the MC says he thinks so. Saying goodbye, the caretaker tells him he can call him anytime if he has more questions, and the delivery guy thanks him. But when Sloan is leaving, the protagonist shouts that he still had something else to ask, and Hela calls him slow. The redhead girl asks him what he wanted to know, and the MC says that his helmet and scooter are nowhere to be found. Confused, Hela asks if that's really all he wanted to know, and the delivery guy says it's important to him to feel like a real delivery man. The redhead girl asks if the delivery box isn't enough for him, and the delivery guy says he feels like the box could also disappear at some point. So the girl explains that he's the only one who can use the scooter. He asks if that's serious, and the girl says that if something that belongs to him gets too far from the cabin, it just reappears there. Even so, the MC says he still can't see them, so the spirit tells him to try turning the key. Doing that, his things really appear, and that ends up startling the protagonist, making the girl call him a scaredy cat. And the delivery guy gets irritated, asking why she didn't teach him that before. He was worried because his things are really important. After that, they say their goodbyes with the delivery guy saying he's going to prepare the next order. And after he leaves, the spirit randomly wonders if the delivery box is linked to the scooter. And now that she thinks about it, sometimes it appears and disappears too. And she gets confused about that, but she remembers that the MC forgot something. After the delivery guy returns to his restaurant, he remembers he didn't exchange the ring he received for money and wonders how he could forget that. But seeing his brother, he feels happy and announces that he's back, though he accidentally startles Taehyun. After scaring him, the delivery guy asks if his brother's okay and if he needs to go to the doctor, but Taehyun says it was just a scare. The delivery guy asks what he's drinking, and his brother shows him a small vial. Getting interested, the delivery guy says it looks tasty, and Taehyun says his psychiatrist recommended it. The delivery guy asks if it makes him feel better, and his brother says it helps a lot. And looking closely, it's that same potion that Sloane supposedly gave him while offering him a proposal. On another day, the MC returns to the Archmage's house with the food he ordered, while Hella is eating something else that Taegang made. The girl praises the protagonist's brother's food, and he says he told her it was really good. While the Archmage wonders if this is the kind of food they eat in another world, Adelia is in the back with sparkling eyes. The protagonist introduces what each of the foods on the table are and teaches him how to eat them. And Adelia is already excited to eat while the Archmage is curious about the utensils they use in the delivery guy's world. And outside the castle, the delivery guy is enjoying the beautiful view. Even Hella agrees that it's a beautiful place. The MC tells the spirit that he and his brother should take a vacation, and Hella asks if he's ever had a day off. The delivery guy says he's always been too busy trying to pay off his debts, and the spirit asks how much he still owes. He says it's not that much, because if he makes 60 deliveries that pay $6,000 each, he can pay everything off. But Hella says that's actually a lot. And the delivery guy says it's a considerable amount, but without this job, it would take him decades to pay off his debts. The two keep chatting about random stuff until Hella calls the protagonist, asking if he really trusts Adelia, and the delivery guy asks what she thinks. The girl says she thinks he doesn't need Adelia for anything, and the delivery guy says that's true. But then Hella asks why he's letting her tag along with them. She's definitely up to something. Even so, the protagonist tells her not to worry because he has a plan, and the spirit asks what plan that is, and the MC says it's a secret, which makes the redhead irritated, and she starts kicking him, calling him an idiot. Back with the Archmage, he says that the MC and Hella seem to get along, and Adalia asks if he can see her. The old man says he can see her well enough to know that the MC is getting beaten up, and the blonde says it must be because he's an Archmage. And while in the background, the poor guy is taking a beating. The Archmage asks the blonde if she has any friends, and she says that even though she's Benzala's daughter, she might make some in the future. But suddenly, the Archmage says that's exactly why her father asked her to follow the delivery guy to try to befriend him. And he says he doesn't care what she and Benzali are planning as long as they don't interfere with his important work. When Adlai says she'll do her best not to get in the way, the Archmage says she's a smart girl. But suddenly, the blonde says what she wants won't be easy because the MC is very smart and powerful for a mere delivery guy, and she says he'd be a tough opponent even for him. With that, the Archmage says it sounds like she really found someone who's her equal, either as a rival or an enemy. But changing the subject, the old man asks what her purpose is in visiting him, and she says she wants to know about the Ring of Courage, saying it's the one the Archmage engraved with Benzala's name and gave to him as a gift, and the old man says he remembers. She says she recently got a close look at the ring and noticed something strange about it. When she looked carefully, it seemed the name had been engraved over something else that was written before. The Archmage says that's true. But when the ring came into his hands, someone had already erased the previous mark, and he hadn't thought much about it at the time. But now that she'd brought it up, it really piqued his interest. So the Archmage goes over to the MC and asks if he has the Ring of Courage, and he says yes. The old man asks to see it, and Adelia says they just want to check something on it. Hella asks if he's sure it's okay to hand it over that, but the delivery guy says it's just a piece of junk. And after inspecting it closely, the Archmage says that to be exact, that's not the Ring of Courage, making everyone confused. He says that is the Ring of Hephaestus. The MC is very confused, and Hella says that's a name she didn't expect to hear. Then suddenly something happens with the delivery box, and a portal opens on its own, surprising everyone. The sword ends up coming out from inside the delivery box, and the ring, the box and the sword all begin floating in sync, making the old man nearly have a heart attack upon seeing 3 Hephaestus artifacts, and the MC tells him to keep his eyes off them. The delivery guy asks what's going on, and Hela says the artifacts must be recognizing the MC as their master. The spirit says this could be dangerous, but Adelia scolds her, telling her not to scare the MC. And when the delivery guy grabs the box, a message appears saying he's gathered 3 of the artifacts and will receive a bonus. The MC is confused because the bonus is that the artifacts have bound themselves to him, and Hela asks him what's happening. He explains that he received some kind of bonus, and Adelia says it must have been unlocked because he gathered 3 artifacts. Then Hela tells the delivery guy to look at the ring again to check its name. And when he does, it's really different. All the data about the artifact's history appears, even a special ability called Light of Labor. Looking at this ability, the delivery guy thinks it's completely useless, and the name even sounds like a joke. When he checks the description of the ability, he realizes it's meant to keep the user from getting lazy, and the MC is outraged. Adelia and Hela even ask what kind of ability he got, but he avoids answering, saying it's nothing important. Changing the subject, the delivery guy asks the Archmage what it means for an artifact to be bound to him. The old man answers that it means the ring will stay by his side until death do them part, just like a marriage. The MC isn't happy about that, and the old man says that even if he tries to give it to someone else, he won't be able to get rid of the ring. He says that in the past, some mags trick people using this ability. They sold the ring knowing it would come back to them. The poor guy falls to his knees and everyone asks if he's okay. But the MC is like that because now he can't trade it for money. But as he recovers, he puts both the Archmage and Adelia on their knees while he stays seated there, emanating threatening pressure. The old man asks the blonde how long they have to stay like that, and she tells him to stay quiet for now. Then the MC opens his mouth, startling them. He asks who's going to take responsibility for the $6,000 he just lost because of what happened. The two try to shift the blame onto each other, and because of that, they start arguing in front of the delivery guy. With that, the delivery guy pulls his sword from the delivery box and tells them to shut up. But he blames himself, saying he shouldn't have let either of them touch the ring in the first place. Then the Archmage says he needs to get up because his legs are hurting, and the protagonist tells himself that he can go ahead and complete the experiment because it's better this way since he can't keep avoiding it. So he presses the floating window option to merge the J-gem with his delivery box. With that, it starts glowing brightly, scaring the red-haired girl nearby. And the effect the box gains is a kind of incognito mode, like the one you use on Google at night. Everyone around wonders if it worked, but they are sure something happened. The MC then explains that he gained the incognito navigation ability, and both the Archmage and Adelia are surprised. The old man starts jumping with joy because it worked, and the blonde congratulates him for becoming one of those who got closer to the truth. He keeps saying that he knew he was right all along and just needed the right artifact for the experiment. The MC, seeing this, says the old man really does look happy, and Hela mocks the Archmage for looking like a child. But then the red-haired girl says they'd better check what this new ability does. It makes the delivery guy's presence vanish for 3 minutes and can only be used once per day. And the MC wonders if there's another effect that could improve as he does more deliveries, and a new one called deflection appears. When he taps to see what it is, the effect deflects any attack he receives and improves the more deliveries he makes. With that, the delivery guy gets happy because that ability actually sounds useful, and Hela says she can't see it, but it seems like he liked it. The MC says a normal guy like him needs abilities like these to survive, and Hela questions when exactly he started being normal. The Archmage shows up, thanking the MC for helping him, and the delivery guy says he didn't do anything special. Then the old man asks if he can just do one more experiment to test the box durability, and the delivery guy agrees. With that, the box gains another effect, resurrection, which revives the box's user from death once per day. The NC still feels sad because the box can't be upgraded, and Hela tells him to be happy with what he already has until someone shows up calling for Archmage Gregory. This man is behind him, but notices the old man isn't alone. But the old man runs straight over to hug him, and the man asks why he's so happy. And the blonde girl says that man is another Archmage. With that, the NC says he thought they were supposed to be rare. But Hela says that if it weren't for Adalia, he wouldn't be coming across so many of them. And Gregory calls the other Archimage Vogue, telling him he has become one of those who got close to the truth, saying it was all thanks to the protagonist, and Vogue says the delivery guy doesn't seem to be from this world. So he walks up to the delivery guy and asks if he's from another realm, and the MC says yes, introducing himself as Teja. Gregory approaches and says that the food the MC sells is amazing, and with that, Vogue says he must be one of Sloane's employees. He asks the delivery guy if he could place an order, and the MC, all happy, says it would be a pleasure. He starts presenting his whole menu, totally excited. All Hela and Adelia mock him behind his back. Voight tells the delivery guy he wants something the MC personally recommends, and he already hands him the payment, even apologizing because they have to say goodbye. They need to take care of some matters with Gregory. So saying goodbye, everyone parts ways. As they walk off, Hella asks to see the gem the MC received. She inspects the stone and says it must be worth a fortune, but the delivery guy says it's worth only 6,000 to him, and the actual value doesn't matter. But in the meantime, the MC hands some paper to Idalia, and she wonders what it is. Hella asks the delivery guy if she can have the gem. He says yes, as long as she pays 6,000 for it. Then she doesn't want it anymore. The delivery guy asks the spirit if she's hungry, and she says now that he mentioned it, maybe she is. Hitalia says she knows some food stalls nearby and asks if she should order something for them. The MC says yes. Hella questions if they really want street food. The blonde says it's totally safe, and the MC agrees to go. Still, the spirit complains about having to walk. So the MC asks if he can leave the food with Idalia, and she says it's fine. So they wait for her, and the blonde says she'll be right back. When she's alone, she heads into an alley where there's a hooded man. She walks right past him. But, obviously, the guy is one of her servants, and she says she has a favor to ask. The blonde hands him the paper the MC gave her and tells him to take a look at it later. When he asks when, she says to check it in 10 minutes and the guy obeys. But as soon as Adelia walks away, the man opens the paper without waiting at all. And inside it says, a purple liquid with psychological effects. Sometime later, the MC returns to the restaurant saying to his brother that he's back. Taehyung is happy to see him again. The delivery guy says he'll wash the dishes and his brother can handle the rest, but Taehyung says it's okay and he doesn't need help. While the boy washes the dishes, the MC calls him and asks about that potion, leaving Taehyung confused. The delivery guy reminds him of that small jar with purple liquid he had, and his brother asks what he wants to know about it. Trying to cover up his plan, the MC says he wanted to try taking one too since it seemed pretty effective. Taegang says that's only good for psychological conditions, not physical ones, so it wouldn't help the MC. But he says he still has a bit left from an open jar and asks if the MC wants to test it, and the delivery guy says yes. So he grabs the jar and even gives it a little rinse and hands it to the delivery guy to try. The NC stores the potion to take it later, and Taehyung asks if he's already eaten, and the delivery guy says he had dinner in the other realm already. The delivery guy says the food over there isn't much different from theirs and shows it to his brother. Taegang says it really isn't that different, and the MC explains that their realm is like medieval Europe. When his brother tastes the food, Taegang gets really happy saying it's delicious, and the MC says he was also impressed when he first tried it. Then Taehyung says maybe he should make new recipes, and the MC asks why. He says they could expand the menu and even reach wealthier customers, and the MC mocks him asking if he's going to sell caviar. Taehyung says that would be nice, but he'd have to think carefully about it. And the delivery guy asks if he's actually considering it. But the protagonist thinks it's good to see his brother so cheerful again. This while he's holding the potion he received from his brother under the table. Sometime later, the delivery guy arrives at the cabin greeting everyone. Hella and Adelia say hello as well. The MC asks if they're ready to work, and both say yes. The blonde asks where they're going today, and the delivery guy says they are heading to a place called the Stone Wetlands. The MC takes the opportunity to ask Hella if she's ever been there, but the spirit says she's never even heard of it. The delivery guy then asks if she really used to do deliveries, which makes Hella irritated, asking what he means by that. And while the two start arguing, Adelia is there in the middle trying to calm them down. Then on the way to the delivery location, all three are impressed by what they are seeing. It's such a beautiful place that it feels unreal. The MC is fascinated by the green water, and Hella says she's never seen anything like it before, and Adelia asks them to step back a little. The NC and the spirit ask why, and she says she heard that the waters of this realm suck in anyone who touches them. The two don't believe it and think that's crazy. But Adelia says that if the water pulls someone in, that person can't escape anymore, and it even has a toxin that decomposes everything. The delivery guy asks why anyone would live in a dangerous place like this, and Hella says the MC gets scared by everything. The protagonist asks if she's insulting him, and her answer to everything is just yes. But while the two keep arguing, Adelia starts wondering if this is really the right place. Then the delivery guy says Hella said there's no way the artifact could be wrong, but the spirit keeps pestering him, and Adelia tries to defuse the situation. Even so, the delivery guy says he doesn't see anything that looks like a house, and Hella sees nothing alive either, so it could be the wrong place. The delivery guy agrees, but says they can't go back until they've made their delivery, and the blonde says that's a big problem. However, something strange happens, and in that moment, the MC turns around defending himself from an attack, telling everyone to stay behind him so they don't get hurt. The stranger yells that they have intruders and tells the MC that this island belongs to him and his gang, and that the MC should leave or he'll die. The delivery guy and Hella are confused, but they start laughing at the stranger for some reason, and Adelia yells at them not to mock the boy in that situation. The stranger gets scared and asks the two what's so funny, and the MC apologizes to him trying to hold it in, but the spirit just says she hasn't laughed like that in years. With that, the strange guy threatens the delivery guy, getting closer and saying he won't give another warning. Even so, the MC just swings his sword with an indifferent expression, breaking the guy's spear and leaving him scared. Boasting, the delivery guy says his last battle was against hundreds of knights, and the blonde asks if he's mocking her. The stranger says that if they had more access to steel, humans would be easy targets, and Hella says he's just making excuses. Adelia says that judging by the guy's 3 eyes, he's a grode, and the MC asks what she's talking about. The blonde says is from a tribe renowned for their craftsmanship, the Southern Grodes, and they are as amazing as the Northern Dwarfs. But after getting annoyed at being compared to a dwarf, the stranger says he'll prove that his tribe is the best. But when the protagonist's ring glows and he says it's the ring of Hephaestus, the stranger already gets scared just hearing that. The special ability called Light of Labor somehow gets activated. Hella says the light is pretty, and the delivery guy says pretty is all the ring is, and Adelia asks why it activated. And while the three are just chatting, the stranger is already kneeling in front of the MC, calling him Lord and begging not to be killed. Hella asks why he's doing that, but the MC says he doesn't know either, and the blonde tells him to let the boy speak. The guy is nervous, asking for forgiveness for not recognizing the delivery guy, and suddenly calls him Great Apostle. Then sometime later, the crowd is showing his village to the 3 of them and keeps calling the protagonist Great Apostle. He says his boss will be very happy to meet the protagonist, and the delivery guy wonders who this boss is. Arriving in a tent, the stranger tells his boss that they've arrived, but the boss is a woman who welcomes them both warmly. All excited, the boy says he brought the apostle of Hephaestus, and the chef thanks him and asks for a moment alone to talk. So the stranger leaves the tent, leaving just the 2 of them, saying he's looking forward to seeing the NC later. The 2 girls enter the tent as well, and Heleth says the stranger has a personality similar to Selena's. When they sit down, the protagonist tells the chef it's a pleasure to meet her, and the chef says he's always welcome there. The delivery guy asks what this Great Apostle title means, and she explains it's from a prophecy they believed in for generations. The protagonist asks her to explain it better, and Adalia becomes fascinated by this so-called prophecy. The chef says that one day they would be visited by someone with the mark of Hephaestus, and that would mean a new era of war. Their village would once again be filled with the sound of hammer striking metal, and the servants of the god would regain their former glory. And now that the apostle has arrived, it means their days of hunger and poverty are surely coming to an end. With that, Hella says things suddenly got a lot more serious. Then the delivery guy asks what makes her so sure he's the visitor from the prophecy, and she says it's because of his ring. The chef asks if that wasn't forged by God, and the MC answers that yes, it was, but he knows nothing about it and has no intention of starting a war. And the chef says that it's the will of the god and what he thinks doesn't matter. Even so, the delivery guy says he doesn't know anything about Hephaestus, but she says the god chose him to carry out his will. With that, an argument starts, and the MC asks how he's supposed to carry out a god's will if he doesn't even know what it means. And the old woman says he doesn't need to understand the plans of the gods, because he only needs to fulfill their wishes. Then the 2 of them stare each other down, and the protagonist stands up thanking the chef for her hospitality, and she again says he's more than welcome. The delivery guy asks her if she knows how to find the Archmage Vogue, and she says he just has to head southwest. Then the 3 of them start leaving the tent and say goodbye to the village chef, and she says they'll see each other next time. Outside, Hella says she didn't like the way the chef spoke to him, and the delivery guy says she must be a devout follower of Hephaestus. But further ahead, there are some children staring at the 3 of them. They are happy, saying they've never seen the Great Apostle before, and the MC and Hella don't like it very much. But Adelia says they are super cute. The delivery guy and the spirit try to shoo the 3 kids away, but Lyra is asking one of them what his name is, and the boy says it's Gray. But then Gray's stomach suddenly growls, making the mood awkward. Even so, the heartless MC and the spirit tried to pretend they didn't hear anything, though the blonde is still worried about them. After Gray says they haven't eaten anything since yesterday, the blonde calls for the protagonist, and he still pretends not to hear. But Adelia doesn't give up and keeps pressing the delivery guy. Then he gives in, thinking that at least the blonde did him a favor by finding that purple potion for him. So the MC hands some papers to the kids, and they ask what it is. He says it's a menu so they can choose what to eat. One of them even starts drooling and says they want everything on the paper, and that makes the MC a little irritated. But even so, he gives in and says it's fine, which makes the blonde and the kids happy. A floating window appears saying that a young boy ordered everything on the menu, and the MC already starts regretting it. The delivery guy tells the kids that he'll be back soon with the food, but when he looks to the side, there are several adults watching from behind a wall. But ignoring that, the delivery guy asks the blonde if she wants to go with him or stay there, and she says she'll try to gather more information. So the MC says goodbye, and she tells him they'll see each other later. The delivery guy returns to the cabin along with Hella, and the spirit wishes the protagonist good luck while he says he'll be back soon. At his restaurant, he climbs the stairs to the storage room while wondering how he's going to make all that food. But before that, he remembers a note that Adelia gave him. When he opens it, it says that there are no purple potions with psychological effects. She couldn't find any. But he gets irritated because it also says that the color might have been altered, hiding the potion's true identity. And in that case, she'll need more information about effect. With that, the protagonist thinks he'll have to keep an eye on his brother, and says he hopes Sloane didn't do anything to hurt him. But even so, he can still keep watch over his brother, so the MC appears in front of Taehyung to ask for more food. Back in the strange realm, Adelia is handing out meals to all the crowds in the village, and the delivery guy is there with Hella just watching. The spirit asks the MC if something's wrong with him, but he tries to play it off. Even so, she says something seems to be bothering him, and the MC says is fine until a woman appears in front of the delivery guy and thanks him, calling him great apostle. And rudely, the MC tells her that this wasn't for them and orders her to go eat, which makes Hella certain that is not okay. Even so, the woman says she would like to offer him an artifact as thanks, but the delivery guy says he was already paid for this delivery. However, not giving up, the woman says she's sure the artifact will be useful to him, so he accepts. She opens a tent, saying it's in there. And when the two look, they are surprised because the artifact is simply a beautiful motorcycle. The delivery guy asks her what that's doing there, and the spirit is nearly drooling. The woman asks if the motorcycle is to his liking, and the protagonist says yes. Then he thanks her, but the lady says it's nothing compared to what he did for everyone there. The delivery guy asks the spirit if he should test the bike, and she says it seems high quality, so he absolutely should. So taking the motorcycle key, he fits it into the ignition and turns it. With that, either the motorcycle shoots out flames or it's just in the protagonist's imagination, but the sound is definitely beautiful. The MC says the motorcycle producing fire when turned on is incredible, and Hella says it reminds her of the one she used to ride. And she explains that the MC can use either his scooter or this motorcycle. He just has to turn the key while thinking about which one he wants. The delivery guy likes how simple that is, so he goes to the lady to thank her for the motorcycle. The scene shifts to the delivery guy asking the blonde if she already handed out all the food, and she says she was just finishing organizing everything. And Hella says she's always very organized. Then the delivery guy says they should move on now. With that, the three of them say goodbye to the village as everyone wishes them a good trip. In the forest, Adelia questions if they really had to leave so soon, but the MC says they have a deadline to meet and says it's her fault they're running late, which makes the blonde irritated. She asks if he means to say she was wrong for wanting to feed those people, but the delivery guy pretends not to hear. But she keeps arguing, and he loses it and asks if she has any idea how much his brother had to work to make all that food. She says no because he never tells her anything, but the delivery guy gets angry, saying she didn't help at all, so she should stay quiet. Adelia says that as an aristocrat, she must always help the needy, but the MC brings up the situation with Selena and Apicius. With that, the blonde tells him to be careful with his words, but the MC tells her to watch her own words and asks why she didn't do anything in front of her father because playing saint in front of the poor is easy. And when she tries to speak, the MC tells her to shut up and also asks when she's going to stop acting like a good girl. He reminds her that she sent guards to kill him and asks if she thinks he's going to forget all of that so easily just because of her performance. The delivery guy starts bad-mouthing her, saying she did nothing but pretend to be a good person for those kids. And he throws several harsh and truthful words at her, making her just stand there listening without saying anything. He even says that she always neglected those poor people before, and now if she really cared about them, she could easily feed them. Hella had to step in and say that's enough, trying to stop the MC. But even so, he says he just wants to ask Adalia one more thing. Then he gets closer and asks if she has ever done anything to help the people starving in her own domain and turns his back, saying she should be careful about speaking on things she knows nothing about. And Hella asks if he's really going to leave her there, saying they can't do that. But the MC questions whether it wasn't her who told him to leave her. Hella says that's not what she meant, but the delivery guy says he's sure there are soldiers in the shadows protecting her. Even so, the spirit asks why he's being so harsh since she thought he was starting to like her. Then the delivery guy asks Hella what she thinks is the worst thing you can do to someone and says it's feeling pity for them. That makes the spirit confused, asking what's so bad about that. He responds that it gives people false hope. People get fooled by that pity until they realize they've been betrayed. Finding out that truth can send people into despair, and it's not a good feeling at all. With that, Hella apologizes for not knowing that. The MC says that in reality, acts of charity are just nobles flaunting themselves over those beneath them, and that's horrible. But he covers his face, apologizing for saying so much, and the spirit tries to comfort him. Feeling regretful, he says he shouldn't blame people who try to help since that's not an obligation. Then after comforting him, Hella says they should wait a bit longer before casting Adelia aside. It's better for them that way, and the delivery guy agrees. But then they hear a scream and wonder what's happening. Looking at the blonde, there's a giant totem in front of her. The delivery guy asks what she's doing and tells her to run, but the girl is so scared she's practically frozen. However, some guards appear to protect Adelia, which doesn't help at all since one of them is already crushed by a single blow. The creature took a nap on the job, but the monster isn't done and attacks again. Then the MC tells the blonde to get out of there until an explosion goes off, which seems to have no effect on the monster. The protagonist tells Hella to grab the motorcycle key, so she does, and hands it to the delivery guy. He twirls the key in the air, thinking about the new bike he received. It appears in front of him, and the MC is desperate because of the blonde. His sword glows as he swings it, and a strike hits the monster, creating another explosion and sending Adelia flying away from the totem. The delivery guy is on the motorcycle and tells the blonde to hop on too if she wants to live. After getting on, she asks the MC if the monster was killed, but he says that explosion wasn't his doing. Then from the smoke, the totem reappears behind them and all three panic. Hella, holding onto the MC's hair, tells him to turn on the headlights, but he asks her to wait a bit. With that, the MC revs up his big bike, saying that no one can keep up with him when it comes to driving in the dark. The sound of the bike echoes through the forest, and the protagonist is racing for his life and the lives of his friends. Also, with that giant monster chasing after him, who wouldn't run, the delivery guy asks what kind of monster that is, and Adelia says it looks like one called a fictitious mask. They are created when a minotaur survives the toxic swamps of this island, and the MC asks if she didn't say no one survives that place. The blonde says it's rare, but it can happen because a minotaur is a powerful creature, and if it survives the swamp, it becomes even stronger. Hella asks how something like that can be defeated, but Adelia says there's no specific way. They just have to attack with everything they've got. Even so, the MC says he can't see himself defeating that thing after seeing what it's capable of with its strength. Hella asks if Adelia has any magic scrolls left, but she replies that she only has defensive ones. Out of nowhere, a tree appears, which the monster itself hurled at them. It nearly hits them, but they manage to escape. Hella says she remembers the delivery guy claiming he could escape Gummy through the shadows, but the MC tries to deflect, saying he could easily escape if he knew this area well. And the red-haired girl says she doesn't want to use her power, but Adelia asks if she can do anything. And the MC asks if she's just waiting for them to die so she can do something to save herself. Then Hella says this boost might work, but not for long, and she starts forming a fireball. With that, the motorcycle starts getting engulfed in flames. A skull symbol appears and the bike gets much faster, and the MC asks how she did that. While they use the speed to create some distance from the monster, Hella says it won't last long, and the delivery guy asks how much time they got. She says maybe 10 seconds. With that, the protagonist accelerates the bike even more and starts taking a different route. The blonde asks what he's doing, and he says there's only one thing they can do to survive. And with that, they head straight toward the monster. The delivery guy grabs his sword forged by Hephaestus. But when they get close to the monster, it attacks. Even so, the MC manages to dodge the blow and takes his chance to strike, landing back on solid ground. However, the monster doesn't seem to have taken much damage from the hit to its stomach. Adelia gets scared that the monster is still alive, so the delivery guy says all they can do now is run. Alright, that's the end of the story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.